To begin with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Moscow forces have launched a fresh wave of attacks in the city of Lviv, but in the whole country under an air raid alert. According to the mayor, Andriy Sadovy, Russia had attacked with drones and hypersonic missiles in the early hours of today, killing 7 people, including a baby. Among those killed was a mother and her 3 children. Explosions were heard over the capital, Kyiv, as air defenses targeted Russian missiles. The new strike comes as a surprise to Ukraine, which is still reeling from the deaths of at least 51 people at a military institute in the central city of Poltava on Tuesday. Well, updates on Poltava now. The Russian defense military has taken responsibility for the operation, saying its forces carried out what it called a high-precision attack. According to Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainian military facility was housing a number of foreign instructors who were training Kyiv's troops in communication, electronic warfare, and drone operation. Ministry added that foreign instructors have been preparing specialists in the operation of unmanned aerial vehicles and participating in strikes on civilian targets on the territory of the Russian Federation. Moscow officials also claimed the training center had effectively served as a base for NATO instructors and was being used to train newly mobilized Ukrainians. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky used the attack, which resulted in the injuries of nearly 300 people and the deaths of at least 51 others, to appeal for more air defense systems from Western allies. The VOA's Eastern Europe Bureau Chief Miroslava Gotgadze joins us now. She's in Warsaw, Poland. Miroslava, great to see you. These airstrikes from Russia to Ukraine, was it felt anywhere in Poland?
It was not felt this time in Poland. However, Polish air defense system was alert, and they had to put out the airplanes, and they were surveilling the surface. And by the way, this is the 3rd time in 8 days when the NATO forces, including Polish forces, had to surveil the area of strikes, trying to defend their airspace. So this is the serious threats for NATO forces here, and this is not the first time that Polish air defense and other air defense, including Romania and others, had to actually activate their defense system, and it's a really striking and dangerous situation for the NATO forces.
I can imagine. And I'm sure the regional leaders are also concerned how things have deteriorated since this war started in 2022. Has there been non-stop attacks, on Ukraine since last week, however? How are regional leaders reacting to the Russian strikes?
First, local leaders are more inclined to ask NATO and specifically United States to be more active and effective in supporting Ukraine and giving Ukraine all necessary weapons to defend itself. That's the first. The second, they are asking United States to lift restrictions of the long-range weapon system that Ukraine can actually defend itself, striking Russian territory. And the third, even Polish foreign minister recently said that maybe Polish forces and NATO forces should defend air system and airspace of not only NATO countries but including the Ukrainian western part of Ukraine. So this is the serious threats for the region. I have been traveling to the borders of Russian, Estonian, Lithuanian, Estonian, Latvian, Estonian, Polish, Belarusian, Russian border. I recently have been to Latvia, Russian border, and I have to say that all those countries are, first of all, building defense line, so-called Baltic defense line, and they are really, really concerned about any possible escalation if Ukraine would be targeted more by Russian strikes.
And we have seen it previously in Russia's strikes on Ukraine. Sometimes they've actually exceeded the borders of Ukraine into neighboring countries. So those defenses will come in handy. Now, interestingly, some of the leaders are members of NATO. I know Poland is. Is Poland in support of Ukraine joining NATO, which was the reason for this war in the first place?
It's not the reason for the war for the first place. That's a very, we have to establish that line. The reason for the war is Russia is trying to destabilize the region, and therefore on the Ukraine and Poland, Ukraine and Georgia as well, and Baltics as well. And they're trying basically to reestablish former Soviet Union. That's the reason for the expansion and for the war. And basically, Russia is just trying to destroy Ukrainian nation, Ukrainian population, and it's one of the another reason for this war. In terms of NATO, NATO is actually all over here. Poland is part of NATO. Baltic states are Poland NATO. Ukraine is the only country is not part of NATO in this region. Yes, is supporting Ukraine to become a NATO member as well as Baltic states, because they understand that they have to create some kind buffer zone between Russian aggression behavior and Poland. So they are totally in support, and actually Baltic states and Poland are spending more than 3-4% of their GDP for their defense, to actually support understanding that if Ukraine will fall, the next they will be facing the Russian aggression next.
What is Poland's relations with Russia at the moment?
Poland relations with Russia is very bad. Poles are understand. I mean, you have to understand that 2 years ago that the whole Polish cabinet flying to Russia was totally destroyed by the Russian forces, as they claim, and as the Polish investigators claim, was shot and deliberately shot, and the Polish cabinet was killed. And Polish has a very, very bad relations with Russia. They understand the Russian behavior, and here in Poland, it feels that Poles would do everything possible to defend themselves and basically support Ukraine in this fight against the Russian aggression.
Thanks again, Miroslava, and do stay safe.
Welcome.